Welcome to MDG friends, I'm Ryan. Let's do another Commander deck tech. This one is Korvold Fae-Cursed King. It is 2 colorless, black, red, green from Throne of Eldraine. This is a very interesting sack mechanic oriented commander. It's a legendary creature, Dragon Noble. It's a 4/4. Whenever Korvold Fae-Cursed King enters the battlefield or attacks, sacrifice another permanent. Whenever you sacrifice permanent, put a 1/1 counter on Korvold and draw a card. So this is a very interesting, fun commander to play that's going to really pique the interest of your opponents. So as in all of our deck techs, please hit subscribe if you're new, hit that like button. Let's go to the packages. We got a few pieces for graveyard play. We got some treasures going on. We actually have an alt win condition with one of the cards. We got some removal because after all, we are in black and we are in green and a little bit of red as well. We've got Sack-O-Licious category and we got lots of that sack mechanic. Tutors, we got our land package, ramp, a couple combos, and shenanigans. Yes, gotta have a little shenanigans. All right, so let's jump right into the graveyard play. Now, we already know that we're going to be doing a lot of sacking and sack shenanigans. So we have some ways of teasing some creatures back into play. Animate Dead, basically just a reanimate where it gets -1 power, bring it onto the playfield. It can be any graveyard, not just your own. You should be fairly familiar with that one. Oversold Cemetery, since we're going to have creatures in our graveyard at the beginning of upkeep, if you have 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. All right, and then of course we have the old school awesome reanimate. We can put target creature from any graveyard on the battlefield under our control. Now we got a few tutors. We got Demonic Tutor, search your library and put it into your hand for 2. We got Diabolic Intent, sack a creature, do the same thing, also for 2. We got Gamble. This is a very nice red one. We go grab a card, put it into our hand, then we got to shuffle it randomly and discard one at random. Hopefully not the one we just pulled from our library. Vampiric Tutor puts it on top of our library, costs us 2 life to do. And then, of course, Worldly Tutor. We can search our library for a creature card specific, put it on top. So that's in case we need some utility creature to deal with the battlefield at hand. All right, we got a couple combos here. Here's a hardcore combo. It's Carrion Feeder, especially with the sack mechanic. Sacrifice a creature, put a 1/1 counter on Carrion Feeder. So this thing can get real big real fast, especially with our sack mechanics, which we'll get into a little bit later. But of course, we are running stuff like Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos, which we'll talk about in a moment. We also have Cauldron Familiar, which runs really crazily with Witch's Oven, which we'll talk about in just a second. When Cauldron Familiar enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Sacrifice a food. Return Cauldron Familiar from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, the nice little combo with the Carrion Feeder, because the Carrion Feeder is a zombie. So you may cast Graveyard Crawler from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. So you cast this thing, you kill it with Carrion Feeder, you play it again, you play it again, you play it again until you're out of mana, and then you whack-a-mole with your Carrion Feeder. Yes, it's pretty disgusting. And then in combination with this is Vengeful Dead for 4. Whenever Vengeful Dead or another zombie is put into a graveyard from play, each opponent loses 1 life. So we can just start comboing that up. Another part of the combo with the Cauldron is Witch's Oven, which, you know, that Cauldron combo got banned out of Standard a few sets ago. Sacrifice creature, create a food token. If the sacrifice creature's toughness was 4 or greater, create 2 food tokens instead. So we get that cat out, we sack it, then we can just keep bringing them back, minusing 1 every time to our opponent. So in review, some of those combos is the Witch's Oven with the Cauldron Familiar. This thing can just get real annoying real quick for your opponents. And then, of course, Carrion Feeder can really get big, especially if we have like Anger in our graveyard, that red spell that gives all of our creatures haste. We can buff this thing up to almost oblivion and then just whack them hard. All right, whoa, I'm gonna leave that one alone. All right, Shenanigans. Like I was just saying, we got Anger. As long as Anger is in your graveyard and you control a mountain, creatures you control have haste. Boom, shalaka laka. And we should have a mountain to be on the battlefield, so it won't be much of a problem. Another one of the Shenanigan cards is new out of Modern Horizons 2. Yep, that's right. It's got Menace. It's a 4-drop. When Grief enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an online card from it. That player discards that card. So, if you have Reanimate in hand or something like that, you could dump a very nice creature card out of your opponent's hand and then go reanimate it. That's some spicy stuff. Or if you just need to get rid of something in their hand that's going to cause you problems, you can do that as well. And what's even nicer is you can evoke it, which just means you exile a black card from your hand to pay for Grief instead. Very, very nice utility card. Hellkite Tyrant. This one is very spicy. Whenever Hellkite Tyrant deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. So this is actually technically an alt win. In this build, you're probably not going to end up at 20 or more artifacts, but being able to snake people's stuff while you're making them sack things, etc., 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 it's just a very fun, great card to be in this build. Imp's Mischief, I just really have a soft place in my heart for this card because it's in black and people just usually are not expecting this card. Change the target of target spell with a single target. You lose life equal to that spell's converted mana cost. So it's totally out of character with black. It's totally awesome in terms of a Shenanigans card. Speaking of Shenanigans, you got an opponent that starts tutoring, you drop Opposition Agent, and then you get to tutor instead of them for however many cards they were tutoring for, and then you get to play them for the rest of the game. You control your opponents while they're searching their libraries. And if you're not super familiar with Opposition Agent, because it's got flash, you can go grab things out of their library, exile them for you to play at your leisure. All right, next up is treasure category. So we actually have a treasure enchantment here that gives us an alt win condition. Let's just go through these. Academy Manufactor, it's a 3/1/3 artifact assembly worker. If you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create one of each. Boom, tokens. Brass's Bounty for 7, a little spendy, but it does some great stuff for us. For each land you control, create a colorless treasure artifact token with sack it, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Captain Lannery Storm, arg, it's a 3-drop, 2/2 haster. Whenever Captain Lannery Storm attacks, create a colorless treasure token, and then you can also sack a treasure token and give it +1 until end of turn. You're probably not going to be sacking this thing unless you're going for like end of game win or something where you want to sack a few of them, just smack them in the face. Dockside Extortionist, a very, very sneaky, nasty card. Dockside Extortionist for 2/1/2. Whenever Dockside Extortionist enters the battlefield, create X treasure tokens, where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. Most likely, you're going to be dropping this before Hellkite Tyrant, and you're going to be creating tokens, which is wunderbar. Goldspan Dragon, this does 2 things for us, and as of this recording is still in standard and is a staple in some of the top meta builds in standard. Yes. All right, Goldspan Dragon's got flying, it's got haste. It's a mere 5-drop 4/4. Whenever Goldspan Dragon attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. And then while this thing is in play, you can crack that treasure token for 2 mana instead of 1, which is super janky fun. Magda Brazen Outlaw. Nothing super special about this. We're not like running a bunch of dwarves, but I do like when you tap it, it creates, yes, you got it, a treasure token. Now this one is completely swappable out of this deck if there's something you want that's a little more spicy. Pitiless Plunderer for 4. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token. Yep, just more tokens. Tokens. Oh, this one is super janky as well. It's out of Modern Horizons 2. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer for 1/1. Whenever Ragavan Nimble Pilferer deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn. You may cast that card. and it's got dash as well. You may cast this spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste, and it's returned from the battlefield to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This thing does so much, which is probably why it's so spendy out of Modern Horizons 2. I mean, it just really synergizes with the treasure token stuff we got going on here. If you don't have it and you don't have the budget for this, you could easily swap this out for another token generating creature or just another red, green, or black creature of your choosing. All right, now tokens, one of our alt-win condition. If you're not familiar with this one, it is awesome. Revel in Riches. It's a 5-drop enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token with sack it, add 1 color of any you want. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win. What? That's right. So we got lots of ways to create lots of treasure tokens. So if you can keep this alive once you have 10, you win. And then it's on to the next game with your playgroup. All right, another one, Vraska Relic Seeker. It's a 6-drop. I don't like that it's 6. I would rather see it as a 5er. But for its +2, you can create a 2/2 Black Pirate token. But more importantly, -3, destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. Create a colorless treasure artifact token. There you go. More tokens. Also a swappable card in this build. It won't hurt you, but it is a helpful, very cool removal planeswalker. All right, and then its ultimate. If for some crazy, insane reason you end up at its ultimate, target player's life total becomes 1. I mean, that's ridiculous. Absolutely bananas. Now on to land base. We're going to go through this fairly quickly. Now, of course, if you don't have some of the original Gangster dual lands, you can easily swap these out for other duals of your choice, preferably ones that come in untapped. So we got Badlands, which is red-black. We got Bayou, which is black-green. Swap those out if you don't have them. We got Blood Crypt, which is the shock land for black-red. And then we're running fetch lands. Fetchy, fetch. Command Tower, of course. Exotic Orchard. We know what this does. 1 color of your opponent's colors. Very nice. Fabled Passage, so we can get that sack mechanic with our commander. We are running a few common, just regular old basic lands. We got 6 forests, 4 mountains. We got Shockland, Overgrown Tomb. Phyrexian Tower, more for the sack mechanic of it as well. We got Reliquary Tower in case we start drawing an obscene amount of cards with our commander. All right, we got Rootbound Crag. This is the one that enters tapped unless you have a mountain or a forest. Savage Lands, which gives us all 3 of the colors we're running. Stomping Ground, another shock land. Swamps, we're running 6. Urborg, so we can make all of our lands swamps as well. And Verdant Catacombs, another fetch land. Wooded Foothills, fetch land for forest and mountain. Wooded Cemetery, which comes in untapped if you have a swamp or a forest. And new out of Modern Horizons is Yavimaya, the Urborg of green. Each land is a forest in addition to its other land types. So if we got Urborg and this one out, we don't have any problems with our black or our green mana pool. All right, now we are on to removal. Abrupt Decay, a good one in Golgari. Can't be countered. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. Satson's Trophy. We whack-a-mole even lands if we so choose, and they get a basic land for their troubles. Balefire Dragon. It's a 7-drop flyer. Whenever Balefire Dragon deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. So if, for some reason, our sack mechanics haven't been doing us justice, we can basically do a board wipe of what they got going on. All right, and then Blasphemous Act. If we need a reset button, this is going to do it. We have a few reset buttons. Does 13 damage to each creature. Costs 8, but 1 less for each creature on the battlefield. Chaos Warp, in case we just need to bury something that's really sticky and we can't get rid of it because it's indestructible, etc., etc., etc. Damnation, super duper reset button. One of my favorite all-time cards in black. Love it, love it, love it. All right, Machias, the Unhallowed. It's a 3 black, 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 5/5 zombie cleric with Intimidate. When a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Boom, shalakalaka. So unless you're playing a bunch of, I don't know, slivers and elves and stuff, this thing is going to make people think twice, especially if they're running white. Other non-human creatures you control get +1 and have Undying. That means if it dies, it comes back with a 1/1 counter on it. Boom, shalakalaka. All right, now next up is Putrefy, also a staple in Golgari. Destroy target artifact or creature, can't be regenerated. Toxic Deluge, in case we just need to wipe the board with -1 counters. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay X life. All creatures get -X until end of turn. All right, now ramp. We got some real basic ramp going on here. We got Signet, Birds of Paradise, Cultivate, yeah buddy. We got Mana Dorks in the house. We got the Ignoble Hierarch out of Modern Horizons. I want to say this was a no, I guess this wasn't a reprint. All right, it's got Exalted, which isn't all that important, but more importantly is it's all colors we need. We got more Mana Dorks. Boom, boom, shalakalak. Another sort of Mana Dork. You sack it, which goes with our commander, and you go grab a basic land card. Soul Ring of Curse, 3 visits to go grab a forest card, put it on the battlefield. Notice it's untapped. Wood Elves, again, we can go grab a forest and put it into play. Yes, yes indeed. And that also comes in untapped. Untapped. All right, so now we got the Sacolicious. Sacolicious, I just love that name. All right, Apprentice Necromancer for 2. Black tap, sacrifice Apprentice Necromancer, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature gains haste at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice it. So 2 sack mechanics. Ashnod's Altar, we can pay nothing, sacrifice one of your creatures to add 2 colorless. Boom. I love that. That's nice. It's got a bunch of other gobbledygook. Awakening Zone to create some of those tokens that we can sack. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn token. It has sack it, add colorless. Beledros Witherbloom out of Strixhaven. I won a couple drafts with this thing. At the beginning of each upkeep, notice it says each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Pay 10 life, untap all lands you control. You probably won't be doing the 10 land thing, but maybe you will. I don't know. Bitterblossom! Oh, I hate this card, and I love this card. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. So, our sack material. If you've seen our previous episodes, you know that I just absolutely hate this card, but I love this card. Rage quit for a good amount of years because of this card when it originally came out. All right, Dictate of Erebos. We're running Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos. Flash, whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. What? That's right. All right, Eradicator Valkyrie. I don't know if I said that right. 4-drop, 4/3, Angel Berserker. It's got flying, lifelink, hexproof from Planeswalkers, and Boast. Boast is sacrifice a creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or Planeswalker. So we're really going to make them pay for having creatures on the battlefield with all of this shenanigans. With Grave Pact as well, whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. Liliana, mainly for its -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. Boom, boom, and boom. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. What? Yes, that's so nice. That's so thoughtful of you, Liliana. All right, Mayhem Devil. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. Boom, 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 ping, ping, ping. Nesting Dragon. It does fit. I promise it does. And mainly because with Landfall, you create a 0/2 red dragon egg creature token with Defender. And when this creature dies, create a 2/2 red dragon creature token with flying and red. This creature gets +1 until end of turn. So if there is a board wipe, you got some of these eggs out, you suddenly have what? 2/2 red dragons. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Ophiomancer fuels us with more tokens that we can sack at the beginning of each upkeep. If you control no snakes, put a 1/1 black creature token with Death Touch onto the battlefield. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Phyrexian Altar for 3. Sacrifice creature, add 1 mana of any color. And then Phyrexian Obliterator. This thing is really crazy. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. What? So just be careful that you're not the one making the damage, you know, like with Blasphemous Act or something. So this is pretty awesome. Your opponents are always going to think twice before they target this thing. So it's very, very awesome. Prosh Sky Raider of Care. It is very cool. 5/5 Dragon. Whenever you cast Prosh, Skyraider of Care, create an X01 red Cobalt creature tokens named Cobalt of Care, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast Prosh. Sacrifice another creature. Prosh gets +1 until end of turn. All right, this one is super stanky in this build whenever you're dealing with sacks. Also did a deck tech on Tergrid that you can check out for a mono black build. I believe it was mono black. Yeah, it's very spicy, very awesome. All right, whenever an opponent sacks a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Need I say more? No, I needn't. Torment of Hailfire, X black black. Repeat this following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. So if Tergrid is out, this thing is going to fetch you all sorts of funny, hilarious things. Yawgmoth Thran Physician, protection from humans. It's a 4-drop 2/4. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature. Put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card. There's just so much this thing does. And for 2, you can discard a card and proliferate. We basically don't care about the proliferate thing, but this thing is incredible. All right, and that brings us, full circle. I kind of blasted through this thing. This deck really plays itself. You don't have to finesse it a whole lot. The only thing maybe you might have to finesse is the Witch's Oven thing and just, paying attention to what the board's doing. Again, Korvold Fae-Cursed King, super fun, janky commander that you're going to have a lot of fun with and win a lot of games with this thing. It does very well. It performs very well. All right, thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out until the end. Check out our other episodes. MTG friends, peace.